Hey everyone, and welcome to 1.21 Gigawatts. I am Peter, that is Matt. We talk about movies on this show, and in this episode, we are discussing the new film in the Predator franchise, aptly titled The Predator.
Yeah, I don't like this naming convention. I don't
Yeah,
like just adding the in front of things.
this has become a thing. It's almost like they want to have the remake quality of having just like the title again, but they're
Hmm.
trying to like be sneaky and just put a the or take away the.
Yeah,
Fast and the Furious was notorious for this because they did it with two thes. They went from the Fast and the
yeah,
Furious to just Fast and Furious. It's
yep.
bullshit, bullshit. What's wrong with Predator 4? I mean, seriously, Predator
I
4 sounds
honestly,
good.
I get the adding S like Cameron did for Alien to
Yeah,
Aliens. So that really denotes the difference in the movies. Um, but
yeah,
and same with Predator to Predators. But this one you're setting the.
Yeah,
It's
well, that
weird.
that one felt a bit cheaper just because it was more
Yeah,
about the nostalgia for Aliens than it was about the plot itself. Because
yeah,
when you actually watch Predators, I remember just being like, oh, there's only three. That's not that big a deal.
yeah,
What are we
yeah.
talking about here?
It's not an entire colony,
Yeah.
you know.
Whereas
So, yeah,
Alien to Aliens, it was like, Jesus,
it's
this is a big difference in
yeah.
terms of the plot. So that was, dare I say, revolutionary when Cameron did that
No,
with Aliens.
It
But
no, it was. I
here
mean,
we
it's
are.
it's one of the rare sequels that's I feels better than the original. So
I
it's
probably like
completely.
it a smidge more. I would be hesitant to say it's actually better. I think they're both tens. They're both damn
Yeah,
masterpieces.
I think it depends on what you like. If you like the low key, dready, like horror, I think the Ridley Scott Alien is more your thing. But if you like the action packed, shoot 'em up kind of style with a lot of tension, then that's James
Mm.
Cameron.
But we're not
His
here to talk about
aliens.
aliens. We're here to talk about
No,
the Predator. We will start spoiler free as we always do. We will give you a warning in the middle before we go into spoilers, and that's what we're going to do. So I think it's worth just starting this with just a quick how you feel about each of the previous films in the franchise before we dive right in. Poor Connor couldn't get a chance to go see it, which is a shame because he actually reviewed all the other films in the franchise up until this
that's
point.
hilarious. That's hilarious. The poor guy had to sit through Alien vs Predator and Alien vs Predator Requiem.
Oh, he did, yes. As did I, may I
So
add. It's just all like I
yeah,
was.
but I feel like you've seen them before. He might have not have seen those before.
Oh, true.
So
Why does that make it better for him? I mean, I knew what I was getting into.
yeah, but that's like it's like going through a haunted house where you kind of know where the scares are because you've been through
Mm.
again. You know how bad it's gonna be. Poor Connor just has to go in blind and be like, oh man. See, I still haven't seen Requiem. I just know it's bad. So
You should. Do you know what? You should watch it just to bask because, I mean, there's other things about it that are terrible, but the main thing that really sticks out is just how abysmal the filmmaking is. The film is just too dark. You can't see anything.
yeah,
It's too
yeah.
dark. Even daytime scenes feel dark somehow. I don't know how they achieved that, but somehow they did.
You've told me that before when I've thought to watch it.
Mm,
And you're like, if you get on your TV, brighten your TV settings because it'll help
yes.
out. Yeah,
Yes. So yeah, Predator, love it. Grew up on Predator and Predator 2 for that matter. Predator is an exceptionally well directed film. Predator 2 loses the good direction, but I have a lot of fun with it because it's really schlocky and has a great cast. I like the setting of the city, and then AVP is just really mediocre. AVP Requiem is downright terrible and atrocious and whatever.
bottom of the basket of these movies. Like
And then
you have to
Predators.
break through at the bottom.
Predators is a funny one. I remembered liking it well enough, but watching it again last month for Influx,
Hmm.
on the build up to this,
Yeah,
kind of lukewarm on it. It's kind of middling.
yeah.
It's better than the AVP movie, sure, but it's not memorable. It feels kind of rushed. Characters are not very interesting or likable or any of these things. It's kind of dull as a movie goes.
Yeah. So I've only seen Predators, AVP, and now the Predator. I've Predator 2 has escaped me thus far.
Oh,
Um,
damn! Because
yeah,
do you know there's
yeah.
a character in this who's the son of a character in Predator 2?
I found that out later
Okay.
when I saw that I know who that actor is, and I went, huh, that's funny. And then it turns out to be related to that
Yeah,
character.
yeah.
So, and then again, I just missed Requiem because I've heard it's terrible. But the first Predator is a classic. Like it goes without saying. That's one I watch at least once a year. Um, and then AVP, I had a lot of fun with it when I was younger and didn't know any better. And then just the whole story, it's kind of a mess, but it's kind of there's parts of it that I do enjoy. But it's It's not good. And then Predators I quite enjoyed, but I haven't seen it really since it hit home release. So it's been quite a few years since the last time I watched it, but
Eight
I liked a
even.
lot of what happened. What's that?
8 even. It's been 8 years.
Yeah. So, well, funnily enough, I saw The Predator in the same exact theater I saw Predators, which I thought was fun.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
But
not a
yeah,
lot's changed in
so
8 years. It's funny actually. There's
oh,
a bigger gap between Predators and the Predator than there was between Predator 1 and
yeah.
2. Bizarrely,
Hmm.
but hey, so that's kind of where we stand just in terms of the franchise. I'd recommend checking out Predator 2 though. I think you'll have fun with that.
I do. So it's on HBO Go right now.
Hmm.
Because when I came home from the movie, I was like, I should probably watch this at some point, and it's sitting there. So I added it to my watch list, and probably this week I'll give it a go
Yeah,
just
Bill
to finally.
Bill Paxton's in it along with Danny Glover. It is worth the watch. But
Yeah, see, I knew Busey and Glover were in it. I had no idea Paxton was though.
oh yeah,
So that's
I've brought this up many a time. Bill Paxton is the only living, or well, not living, unfortunately. He passed away last year. But
sometimes.
do you know what? I was just so used to saying that I said that without thinking about it. But he's the only actor that has been killed on screen by a predator, an alien, and a Terminator. Right? No one else has got that claim.
Oh my God, he has.
It's gold.
Never even thought of that.
Anyway,
Well,
so yeah, so the Predator is it's a very different plot from the previous films, and I think that's probably the first good
hmm
thing about it is. By the time I saw Predators, it was kind of like, okay, right, they've got a group of characters going to be killed off one by one, slasher movie style.
yeah,
Getting kind of
bunch
old
of
by this point.
badasses. Yeah.
Whereas this, we have more of an interesting kind of almost like, the government division who are well aware of predators now and they're studying them,
hmm
and they're outright like detaining people, and if not outright killing them because they've seen predators, and they're trying to like, study their technology, study their DNA, figure things out, and a predator crash lands, but he's on the run from other predators, so this bigger, badder predator comes after him. But the whole thing kind of goes nuts because the guy, McKenna, our lead character, our sniper,
hmm
who runs into the predator, steals a couple of these bits and pieces, his gauntlet, his mask, a couple of his technological things,
Yep.
and he mails it to his house, which kind of paints a target on his son, played by Jacob Tremblay,
hmm
uh, and so the Predator's going after them. Meanwhile, the secret government agency, which is led by Sterling K. Brown, is hunting McKenna, along with Olivia Munn, who was a scientist who was brought in, who
hmm
they decide afterwards,
She's not
we're going to kill her because
evolutionary. Yeah, well, evolutionary biologists. They want to know what's up with these predators.
mm,
And
so
yeah.
so they're on the run and they have to try and find proof that the predators exist, so the division just can't kill them. And then on top of that, you've got this bigger, meaner, badder predator hunting another predator down, and that's all the stuff that's going on in the movie. That's the basic premise. Nothing about that's sort of basic, admittedly, but that's the thing. I
No.
suppose the other thing to add is that there's a whole group of characters with McKenna who refer to themselves as the Loonies, and they're all discharged military types who have snapped or have got mental conditions.
Yeah.
They're all kind of
Yeah, they're
wacky.
group
That's the
two
case.
of for group therapy or ther yeah, group therapy too.
Yeah,
So they're all in there and yeah.
yeah. So that becomes our team for the movie, if you will. So that's the basic
Mhm.
premise. So I'll ask the question, Matt. Did you
Mhm.
enjoy The Predator?
Somewhat. It's there are parts of it that I really enjoy, and there's other parts that had me saying out loud, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah, I had fun with it. But
Hmm.
I think when I heard Shane Black was going to be directing it, if you don't know this, Shane Black was actually an actor in the
Yep.
first movie. He's
Yep.
the one who had all the pussy jokes, who dies
Yep.
first. But he has obviously been writing and directing for a long time. Well, writing forever, but directing over the last decade or so.
Yep.
And him being put on this was kind of like, oh, this is like easily the most exciting Predator's been as a prospect in a long time. And I
Yep.
think I was excited for the potential that this would be like a complete relaunch where it would like capture like this new spirit for the Predator. And it's not really done that. The end result is kind of, it's better than Predators, I think. I think it has a lot more personality than Predators, which is why I like it
Okay.
more. And it's a pretty solid action movie, with some good gore, and the characters. Not every joke lands. There's some jokes that kind of thud, but there's a lot of jokes that do land. There's a lot of jokes that made me kind of chuckle,
Yeah.
and but I do think the movie moves far too fast. It feels like a movie that's been over edited, and there's
Hmm.
several plot points where they don't really make it like there's leaps in logic that I think is because things have been cut out and they're trying to speed things up. But there's several moments, and we'll talk more about it in spoilers, where I went, wait, that doesn't add up. How did you jump to that conclusion? Wait, what? So it moves very fast, and that's probably my biggest problem.
Yeah. The plot's kind of all over the place in parts, and I thought the tone, because I get that you want to have the comedy in there, because that was kind of a part of the original in the beginning. So you kind of want to do all that still. But I felt like the tone was all over the place throughout.
I don't think the tone was all over the place. I think the tone was consistently just really lighthearted, which was was different for a Predator movie because
Yeah, I guess I just thought like a lot of the jokey stuff sometimes sacrificed like tension. Like you kind of want stuff to be drawn out, and when you have all these guys cutting jokes constantly and like winking to the camera, it's kind of distracting.
See, that wasn't surprising to me because it's a Shane Black movie, and that's Shane Black's characters. That's what his characters do. They always have. So I kind of went in expecting
but I feel like in the other guys it's different than in something like Predator. Like I don't know. I think I just expected it to be Shane Black, but not like that much Shane Black, if that makes sense.
Oh, no,
I expected him to rein it in a little bit because
Uh-huh.
it's a different franchise. It's not an original, you know what I mean? Like he did, I think this is like Iron Man 3 and this are the only two franchises he's ever really worked on. Anything else has been original.
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't bother me so much because I like Shane Black movies, so the Shane Blackiness of it was A-okay by me. It was one of the things I was enjoying the most about the film. I mean, the characters, they're not deep characters. It's like there's little things that you try and set up, little arcs and stuff like that, and I appreciate the effort. Overall, they kind of come off as a little bit thin, but they do have enough wit and they have enough jokes, and they're all kind of memorable. I feel like, not that I can remember the names, because I very rarely remember movie character names, but they're all very memorable in that, I remember, Thomas Jane, like he has Tourette's. I remember the Hispanic guy is a little bit, he's not creepy per se, but he keeps coming across as creepy to Olivia Munn.
Yeah.
And you remember, obviously Nebraska is kind of the main one who befriends McKenna and stuff like.
McKenna.
They all have something, and Sterling K. Brown, of course, is the antagonist. He's the villain. He's the human villain of the movie. Which again is kind of different from the previous few, because even Gary Busey in 2 wasn't an outright villain. He was kind of an antagonist early on in that he was covering things up, but once stuff really got going, he was never openly trying to kill the other characters or main characters, whereas Brown is actually ordering like, no, kill them all because they know too much.
And he was very over the top, but in a scenery chewing way that I enjoyed.
Oh yeah,
because I'm so used to seeing Sterling K. Brown as this kind of reserved character.
Oh, serious actor.
He's a really strong actor.
He's a drama actor.
So to see him in this and he's like chomping on gum and just being like that guy, I was like, oh, this is an interesting turn for him. I like that.
Yeah, I think what I will say as well is that the cast all seem to be having a lot of fun with their roles. Yeah. And that brings an energy that I quite liked. Like I say, there was a lot of gore as well. I do wish again it slowed down at times just to bask in it a bit more, but there was some solid limb ripping off and spine pillage and all sorts.
And it was very I don't want to say grindhouse because it wasn't that bad, but it was very like, hey, look at this, which I kind of appreciated because it didn't feel like it was digital gore. It felt like they did stuff practically, and they might have done it digitally and they just gotten that good at it. But it felt like
no, I mean
real.
It's funny you bring that up because I think one of the biggest other complaints you could have outside of the rushed pacing, which makes the story feel a bit jumbled, is the bigger Predator. From henceforth I shall refer to him as the Uber Predator, in the tradition of the Uber vampires from the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So
of course
he is completely CG because he's like he's like 9-10 foot tall. He's he's ridiculously big. And this is in all, well, not all the trailers. I think the first trailer didn't have it, but all the trailers since then have had this big Predator in it, and he's completely CG. And I think the CG is not that great. Like it's not terrible. It's not like Asylum movie bad or anything like that, but it definitely feels CG enough that it feels unnatural. And the shame thing there is that that's not a sentence, but the thing that's bad about that is that Predator is such an iconic design, and he's always had a great presence. Partly because he is a physical suit. He's a physical makeup with the helmet, the mask, and he's
Mhm.
an actual presence. And sure, he's always been tall compared to the humans, because they've always cast like a
Right.
7-foot actor to play the
Right.
role. But here, this bigger predator is a nice idea, but he's so goddamn CG that it's hard. It feels a bit more schlocky, which I don't necessarily mind inherently, because there's a lot of ideas in
Mhm.
this. The fact that we've got people like chasing down predator ships, and we've got we'll talk about the ending and all the stuff that happens in the third act later in the spoilers, but a lot of it does feel a lot more, hey, let's do some silly B movie stuff, and I appreciate that to a point, because I feel like the mystique of the Predator's been lost, right? Over the years and the different sequels and how popular the design of the Predator is. I think it is smart to say, okay, he doesn't have the hide in the shadows mystique that he had in the first movie, because we all know what he looks like now. So you treat him a little bit differently, and that part makes sense to me. That works for me, and I like the cheesiness almost of it. I think that's
Even though he was CG, he did have that presence, like, because he is larger than life. So when you see him on screen compared to some of the, like, when you see him up against the regular Predator we're used to, it is kind of like, oh man, this is a game changer. I just wish they handled it better.
It's just not as much impact as the Predator himself, because it's just not real, I guess, is what I'm saying. And it sticks out more because it is. I think it's because it's essentially the same design. He's just bigger, but because we're so used to the real Predator, he looks just fake in comparison, and that's kind of a problem.
He's a long and lanky Predator. Like, they stretched one out on a table.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, honestly, I think the first thing I'd recommend to anyone who wants to see this or is thinking of seeing it would be, accept before you go in, this is a cheesy, light-hearted sci-fi B movie, and I think that'll go a long way. And I'm seeing a lot of people really rip it to shreds. The reviews have been really mixed, and I can't really blame anyone for not liking it, because it's a very messy film. But a lot of the things that it does have are the sort of things that I like in movies like this. So I came out of it being like, oh, I had fun, and I was kind of acknowledging the problems as I was going. I think one of the problems that I pointed out in my written review is that there's a weird thing that happens in the back half of the movie where by the time the big predator, the uber predator, is supposed to be the main threat, it's kind of weird because the movie focused more on the human threat. You know, it focused more on Traeger, Stellan K. Brown's character. It focused way more on him, so that by the time we got to the big uber predator, as far as the humans were concerned, it felt more like an afterthought. It was like they've not really been that scared of him up until now. It's kind of almost out of nowhere that, oh, we're doing a Predator movie now at the end. I think that's a fair critique as well, just from a structure perspective.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I equated this to, like, going to Taco Bell and ordering $12 worth of food. You know what you're getting into, and it might be a lot of fun, but you're going to have a lot of questions at the end, you know? So, but no, it's a lot of fun, despite a lot of the critiques I have against it. I went with my brother, and we looked at each other at parts of it and couldn't help but, like, smile and giggle at stuff, you know, because it really does ruin the cheesiness.
Or ruin the. I said ruin the cheese. I was like, how does it ruin the cheesiness, Matt?
Ruin the cheesiness. Yes. Yeah, and I was like, yeah.
Yes. A very important space there between ru and in to really emphasize the difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, so actually it's cool. Cast is really good. I mean, if anything, and again I said this in my reviews, if anything, you could complain that they waste some good actors in really small roles. Like Thomas Jane's really good, and he's great in the small role he's in. The one that stuck out to me though was Yvonne Strahovski, who plays McKenna's wife, who's in a few scenes, and like between like Chuck and then more recently Handmaid's Tale, she's like, a really proven actress, and she's only in this small wife role, and it's like, this is weird. I'm so used to
when I saw her come up, and I was like, that's the girl from Chuck, right?
Yeah.
And I expected her to do more things. Like, she has a pretty pivotal role at a certain point, but then it's not really about her. So you're kind of like, oh, okay. So you keep waiting for her to turn back up, and she doesn't. So yeah, that was a weird one.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird. I mean, it was nice to see her. It was nice. I mean, Jake Busey, of course. Jake Busey plays the son of the character his father played, Gary Busey, in Predator 2. And that's one of the things that I'd like to point out, actually, is the movie does feel very respectful to at least the first two movies in the franchise. It seems to, and it's funny because of Jake Busey being there, and because of them referencing and the stuff they've got in the items in their lab and stuff. It feels like actually referencing Predator 2 more than it's referencing Predator 1 most of the time, which is kind of
Yeah.
interesting, and I like that. As someone who thinks Predator 2 gets the short end of the stick, I'm like, yeah, reference
Yeah.
Predator 2, it's part of the world.
Well,
Although, what's funny about that is that Predator 2, when it was made in 1990-91, was set in the
was
alternate future of 1997, and it's just kind of funny to think about how the world of the Predator, the film universe, is kind of went back to normal over the last 15 years.
yeah. They've regressed, if you will. So from what I understand, so you said that Predator 2 takes place in a city mostly, right?
Yeah, LA.
Um,
Yeah. The
so I liked here that it did the different where you're in the suburbs.
Oh yeah, I like
You
that
know,
too.
so it
Yeah, different
you know
setting.
it's not quite the city, but there's forest. You know, on the outskirts of town that they end up in, and I really like that setting for it because it did make it stand out against the jungle of predators in Predator, and then whatever that temple complex was in AVP. You
Yeah, I
know,
love the
this made it feel unique.
stupid temple. I hate that. Anyway, no, I think it actually does honor the franchise, and it makes sense because Black obviously was involved in the original, and
Yeah.
clearly doesn't hate Predator 2 like a lot of people seem to, which is so that's cool. So I like that. I like that quite a bit. I think it pays respect to the franchise, although it is trying to do something different. I think because of the problems, though, it ends up in this place where it's for fans and kind of no one else. I don't think. Like, I was hoping that Shane Black's Predator movie was going to like grab new people again, and I don't think it will. I think
Yeah.
this works for
No.
fans if you care, and it especially works if you like Shane Black's sense of humor, and I do. So those things make it an enjoyable watch to me in terms of, and we'll get to the rating at the end,
Yeah.
but it kind of
Yeah.
falls in line there. But it's not like, oh, Predator's been rejuvenated and everyone's going to be into Predator again because of this. It might
Yeah.
do well enough to get its sequel because I know that there's a
Mhm.
rough trilogy plan for what they're
Yeah.
doing here, but we'll see.
Yeah. I try
fun.
to talk my wife into watching Predator on the regular. It's like one of our jokes.
Mm.
Where I was like, "Hey, honey, you want to watch Predator with me?" And every time it's no. I'm not watching that. So when the rumblings of Shane Black directing this, I was like, "Hey, you know the guy from Iron Man 3 and the other guys is not the other guys, the
The
nice
nice
guys
guys, yeah.
are he's making the new Predator movie. Do you want to see it?" She goes, "Still no." So, and I think that you sum that up perfectly. That if you're not into the concept of Predator, no amount of Shane Black's gonna make you rush out and see it, even if you like his other
Yeah, and
movies.
I think to add on to that, I think I'd specifically say people who are quite happy with Predator 2 would probably end up liking this one. I think
Oh,
there's a lot of people who, like, for them everything sucked after the first one because I mean it is fair to say the first one is easily the best one, and it's at least objectively speaking, even though I really like Predator 2 and would rank it really close to it, Predator 1's direction is next level compared to the rest. Whereas the
well,
rest, in terms of like visual style and direction, are very, basic to whatever. Not to say Shane Black's direction here is bad necessarily, but it's kind of hurt by the
no,
editing and the pacing. But if you go back and watch Predator 1, it is so well paced, it is so well directed, everything about it. The last entire act is got no dialogue, and it's just this game of cat and mouse. It's so
mhm,
immaculately done. And nothing since that's captured that, and that's a fair complaint. So there's a lot of people who love the first one, think it's a classic, and think the rest suck. And if you're one of those people, you're going to hate this movie. This movie fits into the schlocky B-movie sequel lineage of Predator, which I was kind of hoping it'd get out of, but at the same time, I'm okay with that as well. Like, I like
yeah,
that. So
that's
it's kind
fair.
of in
So
this weird
so
place.
McTiernan did Predator, right?
Yep. He did
Okay,
Predator, and then went on to do Die Hard. So he did two of the best
yeah,
action movies ever made, pretty much back to back.
yeah,
He's an insane
okay.
man.
That's what I thought. I wasn't sure. Um, but yeah. So I mean that's tough shoes to follow. You know, like.
Oh sure, yeah,
eh,
yeah.
So, but yeah. You want to talk spoilers?
I'm trying to think. I feel like there was one more point I wanted to make, but I forgot what it was though. It got lost in the thought process about 10 minutes ago.
That's all right.
So yeah, we'll give spoilers. So full spoilers then for the Predator from here on out. Um, so here's the thing, right? So the original Predator, and when I say original, not the one from the first movie, he died, but the original design
Yeah.
Predator, the Rogue Predator, as I was calling him in the review. Um,
Mhm.
he comes to Earth, and later on, Basically,
So he's being chased by another ship. He gets shot down.
yeah.
It
But later on,
and
Stellan
he
K.
crashes.
Brown and co. basically deduce that this other predator was hunting them, and I'm like, oh yeah, I get why you get that because the other predator did hunt them and then kill him and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then he says, I think he was coming to warn us. I think we're like Earth is on its last few generations and they want to like come and kill us. That's why the attacks are speeding up because they're trying to hunt as well. We're still around to be hunted, and I think that the first predator he was here to help and warn us. And I was like, wait a minute, where are you getting that from? How did you come to this conclusion?
That's why I looked at my brother. I go, "Nah, dude, he was killing commandos in the middle of the jungle."
Well, yeah,
and,
that's
collecting skulls.
Yeah, that's the next thing. If he's here to help, then why did he start killing people the second he arrived?
Yeah, that made no sense.
He's literally like out of his ship. He's got like a little escape pod. He comes out of that and then almost immediately starts murdering soldiers. And I'm like, if he's really here, and don't get me wrong, I love this idea. I love the idea that there's there's almost like a civil war in Predator Land where some people are like, no, we shouldn't be murdering these people and we should be helping them because they are intelligent species. So it makes sense to have different factions of people. I actually kind of like that, but it's like. How they come to this conclusion, I do not know. But it's the sort of thing, again, if you just roll with it, it's like, okay, there's fun stuff to be had later on with that idea. But it's just weird. But this all sets up for the ending in which they find all movie, they're talking about how the big predator wants to find a stolen item. And then they get to the end of the movie and they've finally defeated the predator. And we come to the new version of the Division and we have the package, and it turns out to be, and I started laughing during this scene because of how ridiculously B-movie this was, but not in a bad way. I kind of love it. I love this.
Yeah.
And basically, it's a robot Iron Man-esque Predator suit, which a human can wear to fight predators. And
I couldn't believe that's what it was.
And McKenna's looking at it going, that's my new suit, and then it kicks the credits like da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na.
It doesn't have it in a 42 long, and I was just like, oh man. When they're going on about it, my brother's like, he had read something before we went that Predator and Terminator are in the same universe, which makes no sense to me just hearing that headline. So as we're getting to the reveal and it's looking like it's some kind of AI, I'm like, if a flippin' Terminator comes out of that, I'm gonna jump out of my seat. I don't know if it's a good jump or a bad jump, but I'm gonna lose it.
That's pap. Actually, I've already made my Buffy reference for the show, but it oddly reminded me of the robot suit that the demon who gets on the internet makes in season 1. Yes, there you go. You remember the name of the demon? I, Robot, You, Jane. Season 1 episode of Buffy. It reminded me of that robot suit. Obviously this is a lot better looking and a lot more high tech, but the shape of the mask and stuff reminded me of that. So it's basically
so they have this technology to make an anti-predator suit, and they still decide to make it look like a predator, but even though it's meant not for predator to wear, right?
I assume it's meant for anyone to wear. It just happens to be humans in this case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing you find out is that the predators have been coming to all these different planets, and they are killing people almost in like a scientific study to see how they can alter their DNA. Because they find out when they bring Olivia Munn in, who's it's a hard word to say, evolutionary biologist. She finds out that there's human DNA in this predator that they have, of the rogue predator. And then you end up finding out that the predators have been doing, gene splicing on themselves to make them stronger.
Yeah, the idea is they take DNA from the best of each planet, like the best warrior. Now, they never killed Arnold, but let's say Arnold did go down. They'd have taken DNA from Arnold, and this thing would be part Arnold, is basically the idea.
Right.
Which is fine. It's a fine idea.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that as a concept. Like I say, the ending with the robot suit is kind of like so ridiculous, but in a kind of a fun, like a 12-year-old boy came up with this idea kind of way, and I'm okay with it.
Definitely. It looked like when they would make stuff in the 90s just to sell toys.
Yes.
And it was like, here, get the Predator suit version, McKenna with Predator mask or whatever. Like, yeah. Also, the shot. So McKenna sends all of this stuff. He's in somewhere in Latin America. They're in the jungle. He's assassinating drug lords for the government, and his team gets taken out by the Predator at first. That happened all so quick. I felt like I got whiplash, right? Because it was like a 3-guy team.
Yeah, it's very quick. I'll tell you what I did like about that scene though, and then one of the other scenes later on is that I think it's that scene where the Predator's in his cloaking tech, right? But then the body that he's cut in half above him starts just pouring blood onto him. So you get the invisible Predator with the blood landing on top of him, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Now his cloaking's screwed because he's covered in blood. I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. I like that. I liked how it played with the technology. Obviously, McKenna gets the little ball that makes the cloaking work. So he actually, it's basically a Chekhov's gun. You know, at some point he's going to show up invisible out of nowhere later on in the movie, and of course it does happen later on when he's saving his son, but it's a really smart little Chekhov's gun. It works really well. If you don't know what Chekhov's gun is, Chekhov's gun's a movie or a story concept where if you introduce a gun or an item in Act 1, it has to be used by the end of the story, and that's what, you know, in this movie that's the Chekhov's gun. Speaking of guns, I thought it was weird how after the loonies, I'll refer to them as, escape the prison transport, they save Olivia Munn. We have that very funny moment where she tranks herself in the foot. Classic Shane Black humor, and they go back to town, and he realizes, oh shit, I've put my son in danger because the Predator's going towards my hometown now. And they go there. When they show up in the hometown, every single member of this team, including Olivia Munn, all have like giant machine guns, and I'm like, where did they get all these guns? Was this a scene that was cut out when they went into the gun store and you know, like stocked up
and
commando style?
This part because I was like trying to piece other things together. Where'd they get the RV from?
Oh, no idea either.
They just show up.
Yeah.
Okay.
No idea.
So they show up with all these guns and an RV, and they got this rolling convoy to save the kid.
This reeks of two scenes being cut. It reeks of a scene where they steal an RV, and it reeks of a scene where they either went to a military base or whatever and stole a bunch of guns. Like those, it feels like there's two scenes that are cut out here, and I'm like, I want those scenes, especially the gun scene, because you know I want that scene from Commando where Arnold's like just like shopping and he's just grabbing all these guns. Like, give me that scene with these lunatics. Why not?
Yeah, especially with Shane Black's sense of humor. Like someone wants to get like a bow and arrow, and they're like, "No, that's not gonna work." Yeah, but it'd be cool, right? Like running around the woods with a bow and arrow, and you know I could see Shane Black writing that scene.
And there's good humor. I like how the guy makes the little unicorn, because Olivia Munn's like knocked out because she tranked herself, and you know McKenna saves her before she gets shot. But they're in the motel room and she's still asleep, and they're all just kind of standing awkwardly, and he goes up and puts a little unicorn on the bed next to her as if this will cheer her up. And then she wakes up and she's like, what the hell is this? What is this creepy shit? Serial killer stalker nonsense.
So I was a little worried when Olivia Munn got cast because I don't think of her as a particularly good actress. But then I remembered, oh, this is Predator. You don't necessarily have to be that good. And then when she's revealed to be a biologist, I was like, oh, okay, we're doing like the hot chick scientist thing. But she ended up being really believable. Like, I feel like I need to give her more credit going forward.
I mean, I don't know if I'd say, I mean, she's fine as the scientist. Yeah. I think she works because she's good at the wisecracking. Like, see whenever like someone says something and she gives the snarky, like, what the hell did you just say response. She's good at that, and that's what works in the movie.
Yeah.
And that's okay. One of the things we have to talk about that we've not touched upon at all is Jacob Tremblay's character, because I think he's probably the other biggest problem in the movie. Because here's the thing. Shane Black is known for doing the kid, right? He's known for doing really good wisecracking kids. Nice Guys had a standout performance from the daughter. Everyone remembers the kid from Iron Man 3 quite fondly. He's done it in a bunch of his movies going all the way back, right? Just from movies he's written to movies he's directed.
Hero is the entire movie.
Yes, that's true, yeah, he wrote that, yeah. Also directed by Neil McTiernan. Not Neil.
Yeah, John McTiernan.
John McTiernan, thank you. I was like, where did I get Neil from? McTiernan. But so here's the thing. Tremblay's character, what's his name? Rory. He's autistic, and we get this scene early on where we see that he's bullied, and he's very good at memorizing things, and he's good with computers and numbers. He's very good, and this feels like a very dated trope to me. This idea that an autistic person is like otherwise like got like a mental superpower when it comes to like thinking about math, and this it's like okay, I'll just kind of roll with it. But by the end of the movie, they kind of treat him like the chosen one, because not only does Sterling K. Brown and co. want to kidnap him because he can operate the Predator computers, which by the way is just kind of a cheap trick, that he can do that. Even the Predator's like, oh, I want McKenna, he's the strongest of you. And it turns out he's talking about his son, he's talking about Rory. And then even Olivia Munn at a couple of points saying, oh, some people believe that autism is just the next step in the evolutionary chain, that they're actually more advanced than us. And I don't know, it just all felt really, I don't want to say insensitive, just kind of cheap, and it made him a plot device as opposed to usual. Whereas usually I think of Shane Black kids being strong characters and being memorable because they're assets.
He didn't have much agency. He was just along for the ride. Like you said, he becomes a MacGuffin.
Yeah, he's the MacGuffin. There's a couple
which is a problem.
There's a couple of nice moments with him. Like, there's the F-bomb he drops in the last act where he tells Sterling K. Brown to go F himself. Right. That's actually a really funny moment, and that's classic Shane Black, but otherwise he's kind of, I'd say him, the rushed pacing and then therefore jumbled plot at times are the two biggest problems in the movie.
Yeah. No, I'll agree with that. But to touch on the autism thing, this is not the first time I've seen this in this type of story, that autism is seen as like this, like we look at them like, oh, because they're not like us, it's a problem, but they just have a different, set of capabilities. And I don't know if it's because I work around autistic kids, so I have this soft spot, but he felt very true to that. And but I agree with you that I wish there was more. I wish he had a little bit more agency in
that's good.
Going on, because
I don't have the same experience, but if you're telling me his performance felt true to a real autistic person, that's great. That's great that the performance matches up like that. It just by the time it got to the end, they were kind of treating him like, oh, he's special, he can do special things, and it felt very dated and tropey, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, it's him figuring out the alien language in the course of a night, like that. I feel you're like, okay, I get it, he's autistic and he might be able to piece things together. But over the course of the night, it's a little stretch. But I did like that twist, though, that they weren't after McKenna, they were after his son, the Predator.
Also,
I thought that was cool.
I love Yvonne Strahovski. It's not her fault, of course, but her character at one point says something really stupid. Like, she sees the big box that, the Predator mask and the gauntlet came in, and she's like, oh, so my son ordered some video games, big deal. Wait a minute, your son's like 11. How did he order video games by himself? Do you just give him a credit card? And on top of that, video games don't come in a giant box. This box is big enough for a TV. What? How many video games did he order?
Well, and I do like that they made it that McKenna wasn't trying to put his family at odds, because it was supposed to be sent to a P.O. box. Yeah. But no one's picked up that P.O. box in a while, so they just sent it to the house.
Yeah. It wasn't directly stupidity that led him to his family. Right. Yeah.
Right. And then the kid being curious because it's his dad's stuff he wants to see, and we get that real fun visual of him wearing the Predator mask on Halloween. And blowing up a house.
And it's like, like 3 times too big for his face. It's just this giant. He's got it taped to the back of his head. Yeah, it was a nice image. Yep. Actually, one of my favourite jokes in the movie is when the loonies shop at the house eventually, and they're with Yvonne Strahovski, and McKenna's like, oh, I'm going to go out there and find my son. Here's my sniper rifle, and he goes out. And this is actually why I had a problem with it, why they all had guns, because we can know where he gets his gun. He takes it from his house, but then when they all show up to help him in like 2 scenes time, they've all got machine guns, whatever. Anyway, so he leaves to go, I'm going to go get my son, and and Nebraska's like, is your husband the man I think he is? And he's like, oh, he's done this, he's killed all these people, he's a great soldier, he's a shitty husband, but he's a fantastic, honourable soldier. And then Nebraska's like, yeah, so we should go and help him. And then I think it's Key who's like, well, it sounds like he can take care of himself then. We'll just stay here.
Yeah. We're just going to stay here. And they sit on the couch and they have snacks. And,
yes. So that was fun. I'll tell you, the third act's a bit messy, and I'll get to my big problem with it in a second, but I did actually really like the inventiveness with the force field, because at one point we get to this stage where the Uber Predators try to fly away with Jacob Tremblay on board, and we have McKenna like run and jump and like land on the ship, and him and the other guy are on top of it, and basically this force field comes on the ship, and there's maybe like a foot of a width between the ship and the force field, but basically as it's happening, you have it like cut off like the other guy's legs, and then he like falls off the ship. But McKenna's like inside the force field, and it's kind of like a solid wall. He's got this little crawling space. Yep. I was like, this is kind of fun and inventive. Like, I've never seen this done with a force field before. This is kind of a neat
Yeah,
little
that's pretty cool.
trick.
Because usually when you think of a force field, there's no space in between the ship and the force field. But here, there was just enough for him to slide,
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
it was using it
Like
as
you're
as
saying.
a mechanical device to make a scene have an
Yeah,
action beat, I guess, more than anything.
yeah,
Here's the
yeah,
problem with the finale. Like I say, we go all movie focusing on the human villain, and then we're meant to be caring about the big predator. And it's so quick, this third act, and most of the loadies die off one by one very, very quickly. And there's a nice
uh,
thing where two of them have got, like, Key and Thomas Jane's character have like a bond, and they have like a
yeah,
nice little sort of we'll kill each other moment because we're both dying anyway. And it's like, okay, that's
right,
fine. But everything was a bit too quick. And then my other big problem with it is, and this is funny because right before we started this recording,
yep,
Matt said to me, "Hey, did the bad guy die? Did Traeger die? I don't remember that." Do you
yeah,
know what? I noticed this in the movie, but I only just caught it. When the predator attacks them all, because they basically all decide to team up because the predator's hunting them
yeah,
all. Because the predator uses their translator that they've been using to try and translate the predator language to speak to them.
yeah,
He's like, "Hey, I'm going to give you a head start. I'm hunting all of you now, bitches." That's basically what the predator
yeah,
says. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of fun that he's actually just like warning them, "I'm coming for you." Uh,
yeah.
but so compared to the first movie though, where the predator is like slowly stalking his prey, in this he basically just shows up and starts ripping people from limb to limb,
Oh,
like very
yeah,
quickly.
he's not, which goes along with the joke of if they're really a predator, because a predator notes that they eat whatever they kill, and we know that they don't, so he's like a hunter. And so now
Yeah,
he's gone from like a game hunter that's doing it for sport to just like a brutal, I'm gonna take out everything in the most vicious way possible,
yeah,
which
it's
I
still
like because it added more to that like roided up predator,
yeah,
you
it's
know?
still a little bit for sport because he's warning them because he wants the
Yeah.
chase, but he's
Hmm.
not wasting time about it at all. Uh,
No.
well, that's a running joke in the movie though, is that predator's not actually an accurate description because
No.
predators, they do it for a reason, whereas this is just purely for
Right.
sport, and the predators
Right.
do. But as Sterling K. Brown puts it, we took a vote. It sounds cooler. F yeah.
Yeah.
So, but no. So it's during this chaos. It's when the predator like jumps in when they're all together, and he starts killing
Mhm.
people left and right. Sterling K. Brown, he's got the predator cannon on his shoulder. It turns
Yeah.
when he tries to use it. It turns and I assume the big predator's controlling it. It turns and blows up his own head. But it happens so
Oh.
quick. It's like it is blinking you'll miss it to the point where if you didn't catch it, like you did, you're thinking at the end
Right.
of the movie, where did that character disappear to? Because
Right.
the edit is, and this is purely an editing problem. It happens so quick, and I think the bigger problem though is not only is it so quick, none of the other characters kind of comment on it or acknowledge it in any way.
No.
It's not like McKenna's like, oh, oh, good, that asshole died. Right, great.
Yeah.
I wanted that to happen. No one mentions it. It's never brought up. It feels so like wasted. And keep in mind, this is our antagonist who's been trying to kill them all movie and has kidnapped his
Yeah.
son. Like all of this, like he's a funny malicious shit, but he's a malicious shit, and you're waiting for his
Yeah.
death. You're looking forward to it, and it's funny that the predator cannon that he's wearing because he thinks he's cool with it on turns and shoots him in the
Right.
head, but it happens.
Okay.
It's like a 1 second shot. It is so quick.
Yeah.
It took me a second when I was watching it to process what I just saw. I was like, wait, did Sterling K. Brown just die? Oh, I think he did. Okay,
Hmm.
all right. Guess we're moving on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I
yeah,
didn't even pick up on it because I thought, well, if they do a sequel, maybe he'll come back with a vengeance, and like, oh, we're gonna
yeah,
get him
no,
back. But no, no coming back for him. So,
not at all.
but yeah.
No.
But yeah, that last act with the fight with the Uber Predator, I thought that was pretty cool because they take him out limb by limb, basically.
Yeah.
McKenna and Olivia Munn do. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I
I guess.
expected some mud, but that's too tropey anymore. So
Yeah, yeah, I
no.
guess. What I liked about the what I didn't like, what I'd critique about it, I liked how they were taking the limbs off one by one and they eventually got them down.
Mm.
I do think it felt a little bit too easy. Given how hard it was for Arnold
No.
and his team to kill a predator in the first one, this bigger, badder
Yep.
predator felt like it was really easy to take down. But I guess that kind of goes with the more light-hearted tone in the movie where it's not as like scary and tense.
Well, yeah. In storyline though, I can get it that he's determined they're not as big of a threat, so he's out in the open.
Sure,
He's
okay.
almost challenging them to like, yeah, come get me. I don't need a cloak. I don't need this. I'll just have my big sword wrist blade thing, and I'll
Hmm.
take you all out. But that was just how I took that on. But I really like Boyd Holbrook. We didn't really talk about him that much.
He
The
plays
most I've seen him,
he plays
he's
McKenna.
McKenna.
Yeah,
Most I've seen him in was in Logan, where he played the antagonist,
yeah.
and he was really good in that. And here he's really good too. So I gotta search out more that he's in because
Yeah,
he almost is like he's very Eastwood-esque. He's a man of few words, but he has this presence. But then when he does talk, it's like, oh wow, he's real good.
he's got charisma. Most of the cast do,
Hmm.
which is what makes what works in the
Hmm.
movie works largely because of that. Admittedly, I don't think the characters have great arcs per se. They do feel kind of
Yeah,
thin in terms of like what they go through, but they're all likable and fun to be around for the most part. So you kind of forgive
yeah,
it a bit more. At least I do. I mean, I know some of the reviews are
yeah.
just tearing it to shreds and think it's a complete mess. And
It last I saw it was at 40%. It might be lower
yeah,
now. It might be higher. I
don't get me
don't know.
wrong. It is a very messy film. I can't really fault anyone if they just outright dislike it. I really
Yeah,
can't. It's not necessarily a good movie. It's messy and it's definitely out of his directed films. It's definitely Shane Black's weakest film. If you include everything he's written,
yeah,
not so much. But
no. But yeah, definitely if it's a directed film because I went in thinking this is Shane Black. I expected more. But for what it is, you always want to try to review a movie for what it is, not what it should have been. Then yeah, it's still a mess, and that has all to do with the story and whatnot, not so much Black's direction. Because like I've kind of come around on it, talking about it,
mm.
where you point out it is more lighthearted, and I wasn't expecting that, so it threw me. But that's not as bad as coming into this as I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, I had fun with it. I think I liked being around the characters. I liked some of the action. I liked how inventive
Hmm.
it was with the Predator technology. But it is very much a case of if you don't like that stuff, if you don't care about Predator, you're going to be left feeling with like a messy movie overall, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have the emotion or the pacing to give the weight to the character beats that they kind of
Hmm.
need. Which is a shame because it puts it from being like a solid, great like rejuvenation of the franchise to being a kind of cheesy B movie that you'll enjoy if you like cheesy B movies and you enjoy
Yeah.
the Predator franchise, which is where
Yeah.
I'd rank it. It's for fans only, really. Um, that's how I describe it, and not every
That
fan's
makes
going to love it.
sense.
Again, if you're someone
Yeah.
who's hated them all since Predator, you're going to hate this as well. Like
Yeah. There's nothing that's gonna win you over in this one.
yeah.
It's very much a Predator movie.
I just want to add in. I'll edit this in before the outro. I want to add in that I really liked the spin on the "you one ugly motherfucker" line. Where when
Yeah.
Olivia Munn
You're one.
arrives, because she's a scientist and she looks at the Predator, she's like, "You're one beautiful motherfucker." And I thought, oh, that's a nice play in that to have the
Yep.
line in but make it
Yep.
different. So I
Well,
like that.
and get to the choppers, and they all get motorcycles.
That one
That
that
was kind of funny.
that one made me cringe a bit more. That one felt more forced.
Yeah. It felt definitely forced, but I was like, they went for it.
Yeah.
Like,
Olivia Munn's line
yeah,
felt more natural to me because it felt like something a
it-
scientist who was like, "Oh, an alien! I get to study an alien." It felt like something she would say. But hey,
so
yeah.
so what would you rate it?
6. I had a lot of fun with it. I had a great time with it, but it's a 6 out of 10.
Okay, so Pete, I think liked it a little more than me, but he grades a little bit more difficult than I do because I gave it a 7. Uh, so yeah.
But if you're openly admitting your rating system is skewed, you
Yeah,
should correct that.
I know, but that's why I asked you first. But I have mine. It's in my phone. Coming out of it, I gave it a 7. And then talking through you made me like it a little bit more. So I couldn't make it a 6.5 or whatever. It hold fast, you know.
No, like I subjectively had a really good time watching this despite all of its flaws. But
Yeah.
I also have my objective filmmaking brain on, and there's things that stuck out as being that's kind of weird. Why they kind of brushed over that? They've just kind of jumped to this point, and because of that messiness, I can't give it any higher than a 6. And because of Jacob Tremblay's character feels like really forced, I can't really give it any higher than that. But I will watch this again. Like I'll have fun
Yeah.
watching this again.
Yeah.
So
Well, now I see I need to watch Predator 2 and then watch this and see if I pick up on anything else
mm,
that I might have missed having not seen Predator 2. So, and for that, at least, I'm thankful for that. But yeah,
mm.
no, I mean, Shane Black, I prefer his original stuff more, I think, even though I really do enjoy Iron Man 3. But,
Oh,
I
I
was just
like it.
coming off of The
Yeah.
Nice Guys, which was my favorite movie of that year.
Yeah, I
So
like Iron Man 3. Best Iron Man movie. Fight me, people. And Nice Guys, I love. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is really good. Even the movies he's written but didn't direct, like Long Kiss Goodnight, all four Lethal Weapon movies. Although obviously, I think most people think the fourth one and even the third one to an extent is weaker. Yeah.
yeah,
But you got
no,
those Predator, Last Action Hero. He's got a thing. If anything, I'm surprised this was set at Halloween and not Christmas, because
yeah.
he loves to
At
set
least
things
he
at
went
Christmas.
with the holiday though.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the second one. If he gets a second one, and they may do okay. I've not checked the box office yet to see how it's done, but I think it was gearing up for an okay R-rated thingamajig.
Yeah, so I have that open. So it opened at 24 million. So yeah, 24. So it's not. I mean, it came in number one, but it's not like fantastic.
That doesn't sound like it's good enough for a sequel to me, but we'll see how it does worldwide. And we should probably briefly mention actually the controversial the scene removal because it was a sex offender that was in a scene with Olivia Munn, and knowing that going in and knowing that it was a jogger who was like harassing her when she was in the park, it's very obvious when you watch the movie that was her introduction scene, because in the movie it kind of just cuts to the helicopter arriving and going to talk to her, and just kind of turns. It's very abrupt. But because if you know the circumstances, you don't begrudge this. You don't begrudge the abruptness of this introduction, because clearly the scene that introduced her is the scene that was cut because of this. And
I'm
that's fine.
glad she raised such a stink, because you can't be doing that.
No, it's yeah. I'm glad she did too. I feel like, Shane should have known better. I mean, he's apologised and said that he wasn't aware to the extent of the charges that his friend had. But and I want to believe him. I hope he's telling the truth there. I really do.
Me too.
Because I like him as a filmmaker, and I don't want to have to hate someone else. But hopefully that pans out. But I guess the nicest thing I could say about this is that I'm down for more if they do make more. I don't know if it's going to get a sequel, but I'm down for Robot Predator suit. I'm into it. So
I mean, Predator Iron Man. I mean, that's a toy I need. So.
Yep. So yeah, I guess that's the Predator. Like I mentioned, I did do a scripted spoiler-free review. It went up a couple of days ago, so you can go check that out as well if you want. You can get us on Twitter at @mild_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel and everything we do here, including discussions, reviews, comics, podcasts, everything, you can go over to patreon.com/mildfuzztv and keep the content flowing. We appreciate it loads if you do. So go have a look and check out that. Couple of weeks before there's a new movie, I think there's one at the end of the month on Netflix we might be doing. Things definitely ramp up in October though. There's definitely a lot of stuff coming out for the rest of the year.
Big time.
So you can expect a lot more Jigowatts frequently come October. Although Matt's refusing to see Venom, so that may just be a scripted review solo. Because I can't convince anyone else to go see it because it looks like crap.
It depends. I'm on vacation that week. If I have time, I might subject myself to it. But I'm not rerouting my vacation, no matter how much Tom Hardy.
Give Matt shit. Make him feel guilty that he's leaving me high and dry when it comes to Venom. Do it, people. Do it. Anyway, that has been The Predator. And hey, if nothing else, this was miles better than Alien Covenant. Miles better.
Oh, easy.
Night and day.
Easy.
Night and day.
Oh, that was terrible.
But it's not a home run. I think that's a little bit disappointing. I was hoping for a home run. It's not a home run.
Yeah, in baseball terms, it was definitely a stand-up double. Like, we got to second base, but you're staying there. Like,
sure. I understood that reference. But that's us. So thank you very much for joining us and talking about movies. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Keep watching movies, guys. And goodbye. I said we'll see you next time already. I've kind of ruined this outro. That's us, guys. Predators hunting. In fact, one final point. I mean, as easy as a point as this is to get, I loved it as the helicopter arrived at the start. The main theme kicked in, because helicopters arriving in Predator movies are kind of like a big important point. It happened in Predator 2. Yeah. Happened in the first one, of course, and here we are again here. So yes, Predator for fans is a decent time. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye bye.